cowbell, but it works. So thank you everyone for joining today's meeting. We're gonna start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then before we head into, thank you for making the slide, so I remembered. I did have it written down this time though, so I didn't forget. So we would, if anybody on the Zoom would like to unmute and or share in the chat, anyone that you know or within our club that we'd like to have a moment of reflection about or offer up some warm thoughts, please do so. And we will still take a moment for all those in our community around the world that may be in the need of our thoughts and prayers and support. All right, thank you. Next up, Monday, August 31st, which is next Monday. I'm going to pull up a email we got today about a little bit more directions. But we are at the YSS Ember Recovery Campus, which is near Cambridge. We will be having Casey's Pizza and cookies for lunch. So please RSVP. Allison put it up right now as well, and it was in the survey that went out to you last week. So please RSVP so we know how many pizzas to get and cookies. And then we do want to go over that if you put the YSS Ember Recovery Campus in your Google Maps and you're coming from the south, don't follow those because the roads are closed. So 580th is currently closed off of Highway 210, though they're unsure if it would still be closed until August 31st. So you may want to check that. Plan to approach from the north by either going through Huxley and then taking East First Street to 580th Avenue, or by taking Highway 30. Which would be east to 580th Avenue and then south to Ember. So we do have a highlighted map. Allison will put that out this week and on Monday, just to remind you. So you'll see that in a couple different places. But just know that we're very excited to be out to visit the campus that we've heard so much about if you have not been out there yet. And there will be once you get into the campus, the parking lot will be on your left and the meeting is in the gym of the lodge, which is the largest building on campus, but they're going to have signage and balloons on the door. So attendees will know what door to use. So there'll be more information once you get out there as well. All right, and then Monday, September 7th is Labor Day, so there will be no meeting. So we moved our first Monday of the month to the second Monday. So we will be together on the 14th and the 21st and in person at the Plex. And then we're online on September 28th.
And just a quick note, I just put the link for the RSVP in the chat. So you can just click on it right now if you haven't already.
All right, still looking for some committees, and we realized that we didn't have community grant and care committee on there. And so if you're interested in helping Sheila, that work mostly starts taking place in January. So it's pretty targeted for a couple months. And then the care committee is ongoing, and Park would certainly welcome some assistance on that committee as well. And then we've talked about this a couple different times. I think we do have our 5 for September 5th. But if anybody else is interested, again, the survey that we sent out, last week, we've had 29 or 30 of our 110 members respond. So if you're on this call and have not responded, I ask you to go back and find that email, or maybe we can, quick to the clicker is, Allison. So you can also get to that if you haven't filled it out. And this is, it's got a couple different questions that we're asking beyond volunteering. So, and our community involvement committee will be back in touch with the things that we're looking for. So you'll see a couple other ones besides this volunteer fundraising opportunity through. And it's really more than football. It's definitely, we're shooting for having all 7 games, working all 7 games, because there's an extra commission on top if we work all 7. And then they'll also have openings at Hilton throughout the basketball, wrestling, and volleyball seasons. Next up is Miracle League. And Lisa, will you take a few minutes since you and a few others worked this past weekend?
Yes, yeah, there were 4 of us this weekend helping at Miracle League, which is at Ines Grove Park. The game times are at 9 and 10 a.m. I do want to reiterate what Tammy said at our last meeting. You're more like helpers versus coaches. They do use the term coach, the Kiwanians there, but I will tell you, coaching is writing down the team's names as they individuals arrive, and as they come in, that's your lineup. And so it's basically just telling them who's up and who's on deck. So that's pretty easy, and then just reminding them when they need to go out in the field or back. So that's pretty easy. It's a great time. We had beautiful weather Saturday. So that was nice. Kate and Chris and Maynard and I were there. As I said, we are looking at the list. Just need to be at the Blue Sapphires games. But I stayed for the second game. And even though they had buddies, they had the Gilbert girls volleyball and some members of the soccer team there. They still had buddies doubling up and needed extra help. So I stayed for the second hour. So I know it's your schedule that may be tough. If you're available for both, that's great. But otherwise, if you're available to come just for the time that we are slotted for, would be great. And I believe this week we are at
10.
I know we have game times at 9 at 10, but it's 10 o'clock is the one that we are to be at. So.
Great, thanks, Lisa. We also have our Day of Caring that we are looking to send 10 Rotarians to. And this is a collaborative large-scale kit building project that we're helping with for that builds momentum for bright futures, financial empowerment, and collective well-being in Story County. And I think they have it scheduled. They feed you lunch, and I think it's scheduled 12 to 5, but they're not sure they will go as late as 5 o'clock. As soon as the kits are built, everyone gets to go home. And that's all happening at the ISU Alumni Center on Friday the 17th.
Nope, the 11th.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at it and it says 11, not 17.
Do you know, Tammy or Allison, do you know if you're allowed to then park at the ISU parking lot?
Yep, you'll be able to park in A3, A4 right in front.
Okay.
That is open parking that's not supposed to be used by students. It's for events at Stevens and the Alumni Center.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yep. Still a little bit early. There may be some students that haven't been ticketed yet in there, but there should be plenty of space for everyone. Okay. Before we go to Ella, I did want to just talk about a couple District 6000 updates. The last 2 Saturdays, District Bill Bruce, our district governor, has been in town. 2 weeks ago, he was in with Jeff Halverson, who's the Rotarian president of 5970, which is up north of us. And we were meeting to talk about the district conference is going to be in Ames, which we've talked about before. I think it's April 29 through May 1. So there's a group of us, Jim Patton, Jamie Courtney, and I, with Randy Olson helping, and Allison, that will be working on that committee. And I've already reached out to one member, Rod, about helping with AV technology. And so there'll be a few others that we'll be reaching out to too, to see if you're interested in, and you don't have to join the entire committee, but we have certain roles that we're filling within our club. And so we'll just be talking about that as we're already starting, and we have our list of what we're doing. So expect to hear more about that. And then this past Saturday, the district's public image committee hosted, it was supposed to be a 6-hour training. It ended up being about 5. Park Woodall, Glenn Ripke, and I attended that, and you'll be seeing more of that coming out from our public image committee. So that was a good meeting, and lots of great ideas for things to do, and getting out the Rotary message, and for members and just community overall. And then we are working, Bill set out some specific 26-27 goals that will increase our impact, expand our reach, enhance participant engagement, and increase our ability to adapt. So we'll be talking more about those as a board, and bringing some of those goals and objectives that we're trying to reach, which showed up kind of in our Rotary, our 26-27 Rotary goals that were filled out early in late June, before I began my term in July. So you'll be hearing more about that. So I just wanted to give you a District 6000 update. And now we're ready to welcome our RILA speaker today. So Ella, you can take it over.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Ella Rogotsky. I went to RILA the last week of July. And I just figured I'd share a little bit about what it was like, what we did, how it affected me personally. And basically, for a main recap, a lot of the main stuff that we did, it was listening to guest speakers, such as Rich Linden, and he did this really interesting segment about, it's called a True Colors survey, where you fill out a bunch of personality traits about yourself, and then you get put into these different color groups where you're either green, gold, blue, or orange. And that depends, it describes your personality. And then you got to talk with people both who had the same color as you and who had different ones, and kind of figure out these similarities and differences between yourselves. And then there was Leslie Carpenter, and she gave a really interesting talk about her experience with her son who had a schizoaffective disorder, and how it affected both her, him, and the rest of their family. And it was very inspirational, because you can really tell that her family has dealt with so much over the course of this. And it was really interesting to hear their story about how their whole family is still fighting for their son, and how he himself is still fighting for himself. And then we also did a bunch of team building activities just within our own personal groups, because all of the participants were split up into groups of about 10, 11-ish. And we basically spent most of the week getting to know each other by doing various team building activities, where you would learn leadership skills and how to both be a good leader and also how to be good followers and letting other people take the lead. And so some of the main things we did was this thing called Minefield, where you're blindfolded and you have to lead people throughout this minefield where there's, backpacks and water bottles that you can't step on. And it was about like trusting people around you, even if you may not know them too well, because this was more at the beginning of the week. And then we also did this thing called Ryla Ball, where you have like 2 minutes to talk with people and come up with your own sport, and then talk to people with another team and basically say, we came up with this, we came up with this, come up with a compromise, and then we had to play the game, and it was actually turned out like a lot of fun. And then in this picture, if you can see, it was a activity that we did towards the end of the week where we had this ball of yarn, and then you would throw it to someone across the room, and you'd say something that you appreciate about them, something that you liked about them this week, and something that you really enjoyed learning about them while we were together for that week. And then they would hold onto the string and toss it to someone else across the circle. And if you can see in the picture, it created this big web for everyone to see how connected we all are together, and how, even how now we're like all across Iowa, we're still connected with our experiences, our memories, and even the contact that we still keep in touch. Go to the next slide. Another big part of it was these things called words of focus, or we call them WAFs, where the counselors would, before they would pick a word that meant a lot to them, and they would tell this story about their lives, how this word changed them, how it can affected their lives, and how they've grown throughout their experience at Ryla, and also just going out in the world and growing up. And some of the ones that really struck me were the words fear, enough, and purpose. They were all different speakers, but a lot of them had a lot of, I could see in their stories that they really believed in what they were preaching about, and how they went through a lot in their lives, and they were able to overcome it by not letting fear get a hold of them, knowing that they were enough, and how they had this purpose that they were able to find and move on towards to live this happy, great life. And that's pretty much all I have for my Ryla experience. But
that was great. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ella. Appreciate that you took the time to come back and talk to us about it. We had also invited Ada, and she is in English class today at noon. It's the first day of school, so somehow Ella got out of school to do this, so thank you. But I did have just a quick note that I'll share with everybody from Ada. I'm afraid that this meeting occurs at the same time as my English class, so I won't be able to attend. However, if it's all right with you, I'd like the club to know that for me, Ryla was a truly transformative event that I believe has helped future leaders to be more confident in themselves and others, and will continue to help leaders going forward. I know for sure that it helped me, and I will be recommending it to my younger siblings and friends. I want to thank Ames Rotary for informing me of this opportunity, sponsoring me, and providing an unforgettable experience. It meant the world to me. Thank you.
100% agree. It was definitely a life-changing experience.
That's great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And if you have to get to class, you're welcome to sign off. Otherwise, you're also welcome to listen to our speaker.
All right. Well, thank you again.
Thanks, Ella. And we'll go on to, I'll introduce our speaker today. Traci Schermerhorn is the Executive Director and founder of Foster Squad, an Iowa nonprofit dedicated to supporting foster and kinship families. After becoming a licensed foster parent, Traci experienced firsthand both the incredible rewards and significant challenges of foster care. She is passionate about building partnerships and developing practical solutions that strengthen foster families and improve outcomes for children. Traci and her husband, Kevin, have 2 sons, Tyler and AJ. Their family also fostered 2 young boys, an experience they describe as one of the most challenging and most meaningful chapters of their lives. And I'm going to turn it over to Traci.
Thanks, Lisa. Hi, everybody. My name is Traci Schermerhorn, as Lisa said, and I'm going to share my screen right now. We practiced, so it should go smoothly. All right, everybody can see that okay? All right. So as Lisa said, my family and I were a licensed foster family. We got licensed back in 2015. I'm going to show you a little bit of our journey and then walk through why I started the foster squad after we were no longer fostering. Okay, so this is what my family looked like back in 2015 when we got licensed. The little guy on the left is AJ, and the guy with his eyes closed on the right is Tyler. We actually still can't get him to keep his eyes open when he takes a picture, so some things don't ever change, I guess. But they were 10 and 12 at the time we decided to become a foster family, and we're totally on board with jumping into this world with us. As she mentioned, we fostered 2 little boys. They both happened to be 2 months old when they came to us. And it was quite a ride, and both experiences were really different. The first little boy that we had ended up getting adopted by friends of ours, and we still to this day have a relationship with him. In fact, I got his first day of school picture sent to me this morning because he's now going into 5th grade, so time flies. But it's been a great journey with him. It kind of shows how good things can come from very broken places. So we fostered him and then kind of thought we were done, thought we had a good story through him. We knew we would stay a part of his life. But I just kept having this feeling that there was another child who needed us. And I can't see most of you today, but usually I like to ask if any of you remember the show This Is Us. It was pretty popular for a while, and in that show they did foster care. And we really thought we were done with our foster care journey, and my husband was traveling for work, and I was watching the show at home, and the little boy or the family that was fostering was saying goodbye to their foster daughter, and the character said to his wife, I think there's another child who needs us. And that was the thought that had gone through my head over and over again. So I called my husband and I was like, hey, listen, I think I'm being spoken to through the show This Is Us, and I think we're supposed to foster again. I think we should open our home and try this again. And he was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, our kids are 12 and 14. I mean, you can see them what they were like. This is a busy time of life where you're shuttling kids to baseball and soccer and basketball and all the different practices. So I told him, I said, we'll tell him that we're going to open our license, but we'll only take baby boys who are 6 months and younger, because we knew we could manage that. We knew what that looked like. So he agreed, and I contacted Four Oaks and told them they could open my license. And does anybody want to guess how quickly I got a phone call? It was the next day. So putting those parameters on things did not make it go any slower, but we welcomed another baby boy into our home the next day before he came home from work. Actually, he was there waiting for him, and this one was a little bit more rocky than our first placement. He came to us even at 2 months old. He'd experienced a lot of trauma. He wasn't sleeping. He wouldn't eat well. He really rocked our world. But over time, we kept loving on him and taught him how to love. And he came a long way while he was living with us. And because we were not planning to adopt him, he had to be moved to another foster family who was pre-adoptive, which was the right thing to do. But the way he left our house didn't really go the way it was supposed to. It left us heartbroken. And it was just not the way it should have been handled. So at that point, we decided, hey, maybe it's time we step away from this. Maybe the heartbreak can't continue, and maybe we can help in a different way. So we let our license go, and I was really struggling because I had opened my heart to the system, and I thought that we were there to help vulnerable families. We really wanted to help kids get back to families, to their biological families. So it was really, I felt like I'd failed the kiddos that had been in our home, and also failing the system that I had jumped in to try to help. So I kept thinking, somebody needs to do this. This is something about this. This can't be how our story ends, and decided that maybe I was that somebody. And so decided to start the foster squad. Wasn't really sure where to begin. So just had these thoughts that kept going through my mind from our experience. Both of the babies came to us with nothing, or what they did come with was not actually things that we needed or were helpful, like clothes that didn't fit, those kinds of things. The system doesn't make any sense. You're trying to navigate a very complicated system with a lot of different people in it, and so it was really frustrating trying to learn as you go. I also thought I might be the only one who felt this way. You get into foster care to help reunify families. Kids are going to leave your home, and I was just devastated when that little boy left our home, and so I thought maybe I'm the only one who feels this way. And then, like I said, I thought, boy, somebody should do something about this. Somebody should do something to make life easier on these foster families who are stepping into this really hard world. And so that's what we decided to do. Started the Foster Squad in 2019. And as you can see here, SQUAD is an acronym, and it stands for our different pillars of the things that we do for families. So I'm going to go through those with you so you can see all the things that we do. But just to give you the heads up here. So S stands for support, Q stands for equip, and we make that E small so that it works, because it's really hard to find a good word that starts with Q. So we have equipping for Q, we uplift families, we advocate, and we develop. So let's start with the S. The first thing we do is support families. Like I said to you earlier, when that second little guy left our house, I just felt like I must be the only person who felt the way I felt. And I know that's just not true now. It's just you need to find the right people who've walked that road as well, who can say, yeah, me too. This is a really hard world. So the very first thing we did was start a support group in Ankeny. We partnered with a licensed therapist who sits in on our support group, who can help answer the really hard questions that those of us who aren't licensed therapists can't answer. But we just have created a community where people can get together and lean into the hard times together, support each other through both the hard and the good times. And it's been really cool to see these communities develop. We hold the support group in Ankeny, and it's great because we do have people come from Des Moines, Johnston, Ames. We get people from all over the central Iowa area. So it's been a great way to build community. We've also become kind of a liaison to HHS and Four Oaks. So if you aren't familiar, Four Oaks is the agency that recruits, trains, and supports foster families. So they're kind of the entry point to the foster care world, and they have a state contract. So they are it for foster families stepping into foster care. But we aren't. We are a nonprofit that is not funded by the state. We operate based on our funding comes from donors and grants. We don't have any state contract. So to foster families, we can be their friend. We're not tied to their license at all. And so foster families are really open with us, and they talk to us about the issues that they're facing. I always like to describe it that we're kind of the fun aunt in the family, where HHS and Four Oaks are mom and dad. Foster families can come and do the fun things that we offer them. They can tell us what's going on, and we'll help them to the best we can. But if it gets to be too serious, we'll pull mom and dad in and talk with Four Oaks or HHS, whoever makes sense that needs to get involved. But that's been a really strong partnership for us, because foster families are telling us consistently what's going on. And so then we can go to HHS. We meet with them quarterly, and Four Oaks regularly to try to fix actual systematic problems that families are experiencing. And we've had some success with that. So that's been a really nice thing that wasn't in existence before we got involved. We also work with some community groups and churches to host foster parent night out. You probably have heard that sometimes foster families are saying yes to sibling groups, and so they have very full homes, and it's just not easy to find childcare. So to have a night where you can go to a church and drop your kiddos off for a couple hours and have trained volunteers there, keeping them active and keeping them busy while foster mom and dad can go out to dinner or take a nap in their car, whatever they happen to need at the time. It's really great when we can partner with groups to host evenings like that. The next one is equip. Like I said, we offer a lot of tangible items to families. So the other first thing that we offered were care kits when we started back in 2019. Those backpacks that are in those pictures are brand new backpacks stuffed with hygiene products, blankets, water bottles, obviously. There's earbuds for older kids. There's diapers for babies, items that they just need to get themselves situated in their new homes. There's also a gift card request in there for the foster family to help them get started because, as I mentioned, they don't come with a lot of things sometimes, and so you just have immediate expenses. So they can get a gift card from us to help them purchase some of the needs that they have. In 2019, when we first started offering these, we handed out 20 care kits, and we were super excited that we got 20 bags into kiddos' hands because there was obviously a process of learning the logistics and how to get them to families. But we have expanded this considerably since then, and last year we handed out over 700 bags to kids throughout central Iowa and then northwest Iowa and southeast. Which is logistically kind of crazy that those are the areas that that we're giving these out in. But the reason that we have picked those particular parts of the state is that there aren't other nonprofits in those areas offering anything like this. There are some other nonprofits in other parts of the state who offer a similar type bag. So we're trying to avoid those areas and fill in gaps where kiddos live that aren't getting the same type of thing. The other newer initiative that we have last year, it's been a year now, last August, we launched a website called Equip Hub. And Equip Hub is an online marketplace for foster and kinship families to find donations from members of the community. We are Iowans and we love to make sure things get full use out of their life. And so we need used cribs, used beds, dressers, desks, any of the things that you can think that you would need for a child's bedroom or baby gear. There's two options. You can, one, as a donor, you can get a login to Equip Hub and post the donations that you have to connect with local foster families. Or if you have items that you need to get out of your home, we have a warehouse and we can take your donations and hold on to them so that when a foster family says yes, if they don't have a crib and that's holding them up from saying yes, they can get a crib from us, or a bed or a dresser or whatever it might be. You can imagine when you say that you're going to foster, kids from 0 to age 5, that's a lot of different things that you need for a variety of different kids. And so foster families can't necessarily have everything on hand that they need. So we like to have those things on hand for them. So when they say yes, they can immediately get what they need, not have to worry about trying to find those furniture items and instead can just focus on the kiddo that's coming into their home. We have lots of great stories of ways this has been successful. One quick one I'll share with you. We had a foster family who had fostered a couple little girls who'd gotten reunified with their birth family. And things kind of went sideways at home and the girls were coming back into foster care. So Four Oaks then called that foster family to see if they would take those little girls back. But then there were also 2 other siblings that had been living with them that were being removed. And the foster family had everything they needed for the first 2 little girls, but didn't have a crib and a toddler bed for the other 2 kiddos who needed a place. And so they had said they couldn't do it because they didn't have those things. And our office is actually across the parking lot from Four Oaks. And so I was sitting in my office and I see one of the girls from Four Oaks running across the parking lot to our office. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is she doing? And so she came over and she was like, do you guys have a crib and a toddler bed? We have a family who will say yes if you have a crib and a toddler bed. And we did. And so that foster dad showed up at our house, at our office like an hour later, and we loaded his car up and those little girls showed up at his house later that night. So it's little things like that that make a huge difference. It's keeping kids together. It's making life easier on foster families. And honestly, that's one of the biggest ways when I go talk to groups like this. That's one of the biggest ways you can help us right now is this is a newer initiative. People don't know that you can donate cribs and beds and baby gear to us. And so anything you can do to help get the word out that we would love those used donations, that would be great. And then we also don't take used donations for car seats and mattresses. And those are things that we need very regularly. So we're always purchasing those things for families. So that's another way that people can get involved if they want to make financial donations. They can sign up to be notified when we have an immediate need for a mattress or a car seat or something else that we might not have on hand. And then they can help us fill those needs when they pop up, when kids are going into care. The other thing that we're just getting ready to start is called launch kits. We are working closely with teens in foster care this year. And one of the things that we've heard is kids are aging out and having to go set up apartments on their own. And they don't have the things that, typically mom and dad would help them get ready. I have my two kids are now 20 and 22. And so we've been getting dorm rooms and apartment stuff ready for them to head back to school. And you take for granted how much stuff you can provide to your kids. So we have these launch kits. It's a checklist where they can fill out this checklist of things that they want. And it has things from bedroom furniture, living room furniture, cleaning supplies, vacuums, pots and pans, air fryers, all the things that you need to start an apartment. And the kids can pick up to $400 off of those, off of that checklist. And then we'll provide those items to them. And so this is going to kids who are aging out of foster care in Iowa. So we're starting it as a pilot project in Polk County right now. We have enough to fund 10 of these for kiddos, and we're going to see how that goes logistically. Our hope is to get it throughout the state as well. But last year, there were 221 kids who aged out of foster care in Iowa. So 221 times $400 is what it will take for us to do launch kits throughout the state. But we've worked closely with HHS, and they've told us that this is a real need. This will be a huge help to the older kids who are aging out, to get started on the right foot and to make sure they have what they need for their apartments. The other thing we do is we uplift families through different activities that we offer them. The one thing that you may have heard of us from, we do all these things that we do, by the way, we do in Ames. Operation Santa, we have a Christmas party at Cornerstone Church. We partner really closely with them. And what Operation Santa is, it's a private party for foster and kinship families to come together and celebrate. They would invite a child's biological family if it's appropriate. And in Ames, they all come to Cornerstone Church and have this amazing Christmas party. Last year, they had some like rescue dogs or therapy dogs that were there. And so the kids got to play with the therapy dogs. They had an amazing party in Ames. But it's a great opportunity for families to get together with other foster families. Everybody's in the same situation, so nobody feels uncomfortable. And again, it's just private. Only the foster and kinship families have access to the party. We also ask every child who is placed out of home in foster or kinship care throughout the state to submit a personalized wish list to us. So foster families get an email asking them to fill out a wish list form with the child, and those come to us, and then we find members of the community to buy gifts off of the child's personal wish list. So the first year we did this, we just did it local in central Iowa, and we've grown it the last couple of years, and the last 2 years, and then going into this year, it's statewide. So we have 20 parties that we work with nonprofits throughout the state to host. So every kid in Iowa has a party within 100 miles of them. And then every child can fill out a wish list and submit it to us. So last year we supported 3,335 kids that are placed in foster and kinship care in the state, which is quite the undertaking, as you can imagine. And the gifts off of their personal wish list. So this year it's going to be even higher than that, because now we're trying to partner with all of the shelters that have kiddos placed with them during the holidays. And that will add an additional 600 kids to our wish list group. So we're looking for a lot of support from the community to help fulfill those wish lists. Either you can get a child's personal wish list and shop yourself, or if people don't want to shop, we get financial donations and we have volunteers who go and do the shopping for us. Two other events that we do that we partner with other nonprofits. You Matter is a summer event, and there's one in Des Moines and one in Ames. It's kind of a carnival type event where families can come together, and we have photographers there who take family pictures. A lot of times these kiddos don't have family pictures, and so this is an opportunity for them to get a professional picture done. If they're seniors, they'll do senior pictures with them, and just to get some family pictures, or just pictures with their siblings if they've been separated into different homes. It's a good opportunity for those families to come together and get some family pictures. And then we also did a school supply drive this year. That was the first time we've done that, but we had, I think it was like 275 kids who came to our office and got school supplies to help start the school year off right this year. The A that in SQUAD stands for advocate. So we work closely with our state leaders and state legislators to help make sure that they're aware of the issues that foster families are facing. Right now, as I mentioned to you, we're really focused on teenagers, and we have uncovered some issues that they're having getting their driver's license. So 43% of kids in Iowa right now are aging out of foster care without their driver's license. So of that 221 number I shared, 43% of them don't have their driver's license. And so you can imagine what that leads to. Then you have kids who aren't able to get jobs, and cycles repeating that we're trying to break. So all these people on the screen I've been meeting with to share the issues that they're having, and we've got some really cool things happening in this last quarter of the year that will change that. It's going to be easier for them to get their driver's license. It's going to be easier for them to get into driver's ed. And then we're hoping to help fix some issues with car insurance, because right now foster parents have to pay car insurance on the kids that are in their home. And if any of you have teenagers, you know that is not a cheap endeavor to add them to your car insurance. So we're trying to find ways to help offset that cost for families, because they're not making money in this, but making them pay for car insurance is definitely hitting their pocketbook hard. And then the last thing is we develop foster parents. So we do trainings quarterly where foster families, well, actually, they're even more than quarterly. We've been doing a monthly this year. It's just an online Zoom training. We bring in topics of things that they might want to hear, things that can make their life a little bit easier, parenting tips and tricks, or advice about how to handle court, variety of different things that will help them out. And then we also love opportunities like this where we can come and talk to the community, share with them what foster care looks like, tell them what we're doing to try to help families, and just shed some light on what foster care really looks like. Because I always like to point out that what you see on TV or read in books is very much not what foster care really looks like. And so this is a great opportunity for us to get in front of people and put a real face to what foster care is. So I appreciate you guys having me here today. Also, every time I have a meeting like this, people have questions on stats. So before you can ask me the questions, I'm gonna give you some of these stats, and then you can ask me what I didn't think of. So I got statistics from HHS. This data is from October of 2025 through March of 2026. During that time frame, there were 4,168 kids that were placed out of home. And that includes them being in foster care, kinship care, which means they're staying with a relative or a neighbor or friend, a teacher, or somebody who has a relationship with them already, or they were placed in shelter. And of those 4,168 kids, 42% of them were under age 5. So I feel like people always think that it's the older kids that are in foster care, but obviously when you look at this, 42% were littles looking for a home. And then when I mentioned earlier, people think that there are foster families who are in it for the money. You can see here, $18.50 to $21.34 per day is what a foster family makes to take care of a child. And that $21.34 is for older kids. The $18.50 is for infants. So that's the scale. It it changes as they get older. But again, if you have kids, 2134 doesn't really cover dinner if you go out to eat. So you would have to be a really, really horrible person to be making money off of doing foster care, just through the numbers game of it all. And then at any given time, there are 100 kids who are in need of a home in Iowa. So kids getting referred into the system, homes being available. The math doesn't math for us right now, and we just simply don't have enough homes in Iowa to take care of all the kids who are coming into the system. I'm not here to recruit any of you today, but if anybody is interested in learning more about what it would mean to become a foster parent, I'd be happy to refer you to Four Oaks and personally refer you to them and walk you through what that process looks like. Foster Squad doesn't get involved in the recruiting aspect of this, though. We help once the families have said yes and gotten licensed. That's when we step in. But we would be remiss if we didn't share that there is a severe need in Iowa for foster homes, and we're trying to do our part by supporting them once they've already gotten into the system, making sure that they feel supported and don't quit. The other thing I'd like to just wrap up with here is people want to know how they can be involved. We say that everybody belongs in their story. We know not everybody's meant to foster. I was meant to foster for a season of life, but I know that's not what I'm called to do right now either. But there are still ways that we can all support these kids and these families. So as I mentioned, the care kits, and I could also add launch kits to this. Often we have groups that will do drives for us and collect backpacks or water bottles or any of the items that go into our care kits or launch kits. Those items are always brand new. We don't take used donations for any of those things. So having groups help get us stocked with those supplies is always super helpful. For our Equip Hub, like I mentioned, just getting the word out, sharing with the community that they can donate their used furniture to us. And then also signing up for those immediate need alerts so that when we have a family who needs a car seat or whatever, we have community members who might be willing to help us purchase those items. For Operation Santa, we will open our wish lists in October for families to start filling out, and then also later in the month of October, sponsors can start signing up to adopt a wish list. So if you're interested in supporting a child through their fulfilling their wish list, you can sign up on our website in the middle of October. And again, we just ask that if you take a wish list, that you would spend $50 on the items that are on those wish lists. And then another option with Operation Santa is to host a toy drive. We have toy rooms at all the parties because some kids will go into care after we close our wish list registration, but we don't want them to go without. So we have rooms where the foster family can go in and grab extra toys to get for those kiddos. And then if there are biological kids in the home who they might need gifts for, especially those kinship families who are jumping into this foster care world unexpectedly, we have extra gifts on hand for any biological kids who might need gifts as well. And then obviously financial donations just help us respond to any of those needs that I mentioned quickly so that when things come up, we're able to respond quickly to the needs that the foster families have. And then this is our contact information. This is where you can reach me, or you can follow us on social media. You can check out our website with all of our information on all these programs that we offer. But that's who we are. That's who Foster Squad is. We're just walking alongside families, trying to make this journey easier so that all the vulnerable kids in our community have a place to go, have a family who loves them and cares for them, and we can help make a really hard time a little bit easier for those kids. So I really appreciate you guys having me here today. Like I said earlier, getting in front of the community and sharing what we do is super helpful. So thanks for letting me join your meeting today. And if anybody does have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Hi, Tracy.
Good.
Great presentation. I do have a quick question. You said there were 100 kids that are in need of homes right now. So where are they until they get placed in foster care?
So sometimes they'll be placed at a temporary home. So either a foster home that isn't a long-term fit for them, or a friend or family member who has said they could hold them until a long-term placement is found. Sometimes they're in shelter. And sometimes, unfortunately, they're in HHS offices waiting to find a family. I just met with a girl the other day who said she heard there were 2 kids that spent the night in an HHS office a couple weeks ago because there wasn't a home to take them to. And you can imagine like you're being removed from your biological family and then you're sitting in an office. That's creating some trauma that these kids don't need. Any other questions?
I do, Tracy. This is Lisa. So how many are on your staff that,
So there's 4 of us and we're all part-time. So there's like 1 3/4 full-time employees that works here. And I actually did this as a volunteer until 2022. So from 2019 to 2022, I did it as a volunteer, and then things really took off and we realized that we needed an executive director. So I stepped into that role at that point. So there's me, and then we have one person who is in charge of our care kits and Operation Santa. We have somebody who runs the Equip Hub program, and then we have a girl, her title is Foster and Kinship Family Liaison, and she's the point of contact for foster families. So when they're stressed, when they're excited, when they have questions, they contact her first, and she's their go-to person, and she helps us figure out how we can best support them.
you're a small but mighty group?
We try. Fueled by passion over here. You guys are making this easy on me today.
Any other questions from anyone?
Great. Well, thank you again, Tracy. We appreciate you coming on, especially on a Zoom meeting, and sharing your information with us. And keep up the great work. And I think just by obviously sharing what you do helps, will pay off and get you some more help and more things to make Foster Squad keeping it strong and relevant. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and close out today's meeting with our Rotary 4-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And with that, I'm closing the meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.